Upon us, ladies and gentlemen. When the Spurs beat the Heat in the finals, questions about LeBron staying in Miami or heading elsewhere, the only storyline in sports for weeks. So when LeBron made his decision to go back home, it seemed fitting. But now all the pressure, if not odds, are on the Cleveland Cavaliers with the king in place. Take a look. As the NBA season kicks off today, odds makers have decided Cleveland is the favorite to win the East, followed by the Bulls. So here's our question. We start with Mr. Naismith. Who do you have making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and ultimately winning?
Well, the obvious two teams to me are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls. No disrespect to the Miami Heat. Right. Chris Bosh is a #1 offensive option. I know he can play the game of basketball. I wish him luck. He's an incredibly nice guy. You know how I feel about my man D. Wade. The only question, as far as I'm concerned, are about those knees and whether or not they could hold up and do what he needs them to do. I take all bets off the table if Dwayne Wade is somehow miraculously 100%. I just don't foresee that happening at this age, at this point in his career. I just can't imagine that happening other than divine intervention. It comes down to Cleveland. Because they've got so much firepower. I think the acquisitions of Mike Miller and James Jones, two sharpshooters that that LeBron James is very, very familiar with from his days in Miami. I think that helps immensely. Don't rule out the possibility that Ray Allen could end up there at some point. We can't sleep on that possibility, even though San Antonio is an option for him as well, along with the Los Angeles Clippers. But you look at Kevin Love, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving. Offensively, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be able to do some special things. I think they're going to average close to 110 points per game.
Do you really?
I think they're going. I think they're going to be putting numbers up big time. I think that they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. 110 may be an exaggeration, more like 105 to 107. But I think they're going to be the #1 offense in the game.
What will opponents average?
Well, that's where I'm getting to. Their problem is defense. Chicago, that's the least of their problems. Chicago, I would remind everybody, it's made the playoffs over the last couple of years. This is without Derrick Rose, who's only played in 10 games over the last 2 years due to the torn ACL in one knee and had some damage in the other. In the end, you still had Taj Gibson, Joakim Noah, okay, and Carlos Boozer was there. He's gone now. But the Jimmy Butlers of the world, the Kirk Heinrich, who filled in relatively admirably from the point guard spot. But you added Pau Gasol from the Lakers, who averaged 17 points a game. He's a legit 7-footer, and he doesn't have to play but so big because you've got big guys down there to be physical form and whatever, and he's allowed to be that finesse player that's going to do some things offensively for you. He was a defensive liability in L.A. People thought he took too many games off, but in the end, you're not going to be able to do that with Thibodeau coaching you. And then, of course, we get to Derrick Rose. Mm-hmm. Derrick Rose, to me, is a superstar. This brother is special. And if Derrick Rose can stay healthy, and we're going to sit here and prognosticate based on an enthusiastic perspective, meaning that we're thinking we're just judging people like they're healthy. Obviously, injuries change everything. Mm-hmm. But all bodies being healthy, Derrick Rose, healthy for the Chicago Bulls, will propel the Bulls to the NBA Finals. They will beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Wow. They will represent the East in the NBA Finals. If Derrick Rose stays healthy, all things being equal, Cleveland healthy, Chicago healthy. Chicago, contrary to what people believe, will not win the second most games in the East. They will win the most games in the East because I think they'll be able to start off stronger than Cleveland because of their familiarity with one another, even though Derrick Rose has to reingratiate himself with that team. But for the most part, the core guys are together. It'll be an easier adjustment for them than it will be for Kevin Love, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and those boys to gel. They eventually will, and they'll win most of their games, of course. They'll have the second-best record in the Eastern Conference. But I think Chicago will end up as the #1 seed. The road to the NBA Finals in the East will have to go through Chicago, and I don't believe that Cleveland takes them out. I think Derrick Rose takes the Chicago Bulls to the NBA Finals, beating Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Dun, dun, dun,
this year, Cleveland wins it next year. But this year, Chicago.
Oh, so you're giving Cleveland next year already?
Next year. I think it's going to take them a year to gel.
Okay, so there are two huge ifs in your equation. And you are buying one of your ifs, but you're not buying the other if. Your first if was Dwayne Wade's health.
Right.
And your second big if is Derrick Rose.
Well, I apologize for that, because even if Dwayne Wade is healthy, this Miami Heat team is not beating a healthy Chicago Bulls team.
Okay.
I'm going with Chicago, period.
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 Even if Dwayne Wade is healthy.
Even if
that's
Dwayne
not
Wade
what
is
you
healthy.
said to start off with.
But I'm just saying that they would be in the mix, but in the mix of top 3. But I'm going with Chicago to beat anybody in the East if they're healthy.
And I am here to say that still the reigning baddest man in the Eastern Conference is Dwayne Wade. And he will be on what I believe, even though he will not say this publicly, is an anti-LeBron mission. Not that he hates LeBron, not that he doesn't still love him like a brother, not that they aren't soulmates forever and ever, BFFs forever. I get all that. That's true.
They are, it's true.
But there's still extreme pride within this man. And this man has to know in his heart of hearts that LeBron James basically said to him and to Bosh and to everybody else down that roster, I'm sorry, I'm out. I need more help. I'm going home, but I'm going home because there's a whole lot more help at home. So I'm going to say this whole Miami Heat roster, which has now been joined, as you know, by Luol Deng, Danny Granger, McRoberts, Shabazz Napier, who I think will contribute.
Yeah, now that the preseason's over. He looked awful in the preseason.
He did, but I think he's...
I'm sorry, the Summer League, I apologize.
Summer League,
he looked awful,
yeah. He's got some guts and guile. He knows how to play.
He does.
Okay, well, he was LeBron's favorite college player. Didn't know what LeBron...
That's why they got him.
Yeah, there you go.
National champion.
Okay, I believe that Dwayne Wade will be healthy, stay healthy, and go back to being that man in Miami. That he will go back to having that alpha dog swagger that he deferred to LeBron. I think he deferred to a fault. I think Chris Bosh had to defer to a fault to both of those other two. And you're going to see a new Chris Bosh. And Luol Deng is pretty good now.
He is pretty good.
Hey, and he can defend. And Eric Spoelstra just might be in line to be Coach of the Year this year because I think they're going to be the surprise team, the shocker. So I have them beating the Bulls on the way to the conference final. But I am here to tell you, the harder I look at this Cavs roster, LeBron made the right choice. I'm going to give the Cavs the slight edge over the LeBron-driven Miami Heat. I think they're going to face off in the finals. I think it's going to be epic. I think it's going to go 7 games. I think the Cavs will have home court, and they will win Game 7 to get to the NBA Finals in Cleveland, which will make Cleveland very, very happy, obviously. But when I look at this, and I say, LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, I love Deion Waiters. I've always loved him.
I like him too.
Yeah, and then Varejao is just up. He just balls, man. I mean, as long as he can stay healthy at age 32.
It's a big if.
It's a big if, and it is.
He's in a contract year, though,
But
so we'll see.
We had Tristan Thompson on the show in L.A. He's really good, and he's coming off the bench. And then Sean Marion's coming off the bench, really? And Mike Miller's coming off the bench, and James Jones, and I can keep going, and Ray Allen maybe?
I have no problem with all of those guys. I just think that when it counts, you're talking about LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving. And somewhere along the line, there's going to be a defensive liability. And I think that's going to hurt them as they're trying to gel. I like Tristan Thompson and his promise. I think that he's got an incredible upside. They need to make sure they get him re-signed and locked in long term. He's coming off averaging 12 and 9 for the season. I love Sean Marion and those guys, those veterans that have been there, that have won, that know what it takes. But in the end, when you're talking about this type of stuff that's going at you, like for me, I must admit, I'm very, very shocked by your prediction because you don't even have Chicago in the conference finals. And if you tell me that it's because you don't think Derrick Rose is going to be healthy, then I understand it, because there are people that would say that about Dwayne Wade. But I'm saying we're making our predictions under the assumption that everybody's healthy. And if everybody's healthy, I don't see how anybody cannot have Chicago as its top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. The way they are coached, Tom Thibodeau is exceptional. He's not good. He's exceptional, and he is a brilliant defensive mind. And I'm talking about Rex Ryan to the nth degree, because Tom Thibodeau, with the exception of a blowout loss here and there in a meaningless regular season game, this man has these boys ready to play. Their liability has been offensively. But you add, think about it, the toughness that they have, the way we've applauded the Chicago Bulls' toughness. Then you add Pau Gasol. You add Derrick Rose, okay? And then on top of it all, this kid McDermott that you draft out of Cleveland, All right, the 5th leading scorer in NCAA history. He's a sharpshooter. This kid Marodic out of Real Madrid, Spain, 6'10", sharpshooter. So you got shooters. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing the Chicago Bulls need to do is go out there and try to steal Nate Robinson away from somebody, that miniature dynamo. Because that kid, Nate Robinson, I am so sick and tired of people underappreciating this kid. I want that kid on my roster.
Well,
and if
Chicago,
I'm the Chicago
he carried Chicago in the playoffs
2 years ago. They need to go and find a way to get him back. That's how important I think Nate Robinson is to a championship. But I'm telling you, Derrick Rose, healthy, I'm not betting my money against his brother.
But that's the question for me.
Yeah,
he said,
is
how
he
can
healthy?
I pick? Well, I don't know. And I'm not wishing this on anybody either. It's like we're talking about Romo and DeMarco. I just don't know if Derrick Rose can stay healthy.
What about D-Wade?
Again,
you're
we're
betting
just
on
guessing.
him.
I'm
You're
betting on him.
that he's going to stay healthy.
I have a little bit of inside information, and I'm going to trust it. And I'm going to go with him being much healthier than you think he will be this year.
I hope so. You know I root for
Stephen A., let me ask you a question, because no one's been talking about it, and maybe you know, maybe you don't know. Ray Allen, any idea?
Ray Allen is going through some things from this perspective. He's approaching 40. He's a sharpshooter. He knows he could play 2-3 more years. He seriously did contemplate retirement, but at the same time, he knows that he can still play the game of basketball. The struggle for Ray Allen is that Ray Allen has been around too long. That training camp regimen, the practices every day. Pat Riley and the Miami Heat, first-class organization. We all know how I feel about the Miami Heat. But there were times where, you practice a lot, whatever. Guys that are veterans don't feel they have to go through that. And so if you're Ray Allen, you're not looking for a cruise, to be in cruise control. You're not looking for a vacation. But you are looking for a situation where where it's an environment that's receptive to the fact that you are a veteran and that you aren't as young as you used to be.
He wants a Tony Gonzalez deal. Maybe I can skip
similar,
some stuff.
Something like that.
So just a real quick thought here.
Not skip, but
for year after year after year, you just ridicule Brett Favre for coming late to training camp.
Boy.
Just to training camp. Now you're saying Ray Allen needs a break here. He should be able to stay home until the All-Star break.
I'd like to answer that.
Yes.
Ray Allen didn't do year after year where he said, maybe I'm going to retire, maybe I'm not, and hold a team hostage as they sat around waiting for the most important position on the football field, according to you, for the guy to make a decision. Ray Allen essentially is a complimentary star in this league. He's one of the greatest shooters that we've ever seen in the game's history. He's a guy that's won a couple of championships, and he's just sitting back and saying, okay, let me evaluate how badly do I really want this predicament or that predicament. San Antonio, Clippers, Cleveland are all options.
We asked the question, who's going to make it to the ECFs and ultimately win? Both gentlemen have Cleveland in it. Wow, that's amazing for their first year together as a team. Skip says Cleveland's going to the finals. Stephen A. says it'll be the Bulls. Spurs, Clippers, Golden State.